keep more than that. Okay. Some other important definition. This is the important definition. I will not go into much details. I will just cover important aspect. Section 213, public trust means an express or constructive trust. Means like temple, I said, temple in village, it is implied. There was no document governing right from beginning, and then scheme was settled, implied trust or constructive. But express, there is right from word go, there is a document like either declaration of the trust or trust deed or deed of trust, then it would be covered, it can be described as a express trust. Now, it is for either public religious purpose or charitable purpose. Now, mark one thing, here as far as the charity is concerned or this law is concerned, it will cover only public religious organization, not religious organization, because religious can be private religious, religious can be public religious. What is governed by the law is public religious institution. Now, what are the public religious and what is the difference between public religious and private religions? Let us say, take a case of, say, let us first read the definition. Means express or constructive trust for either a public religious or charitable purpose or both, and includes, now it describes all various types of religious establishments, includes a temple, a mosque, a work. Now, work, there is a separate law, but since beginning it was there and it is there still. Includes a temple, a mosque, a work, a church, synagogue. Synagogue, I think, is a for Jews. Then agyari or other place of public religious worship, a dharmada I have just explained, or any other religious or charitable endowment, and a society formed either for a religious or charitable purpose or for both, and registered under the society's registration as 1860. Now, coming back to temple, which temple is private temple and which temple is a public temple? Let us take an example. There is a temple in the factory premises, and with enclosed boundaries of factory, the only workman can visit and no outsider can visit. It can be very much called a private temple and not a public temple. But a temple in a village, it is open to all at reasonable hours. Not necessarily it should be open 24 hours, because temples open at varying time. They start sometimes at 5 o'clock with Kakad Aarti, 5 or 6, I don't know. Please forgive me. So with Kakad Aarti and all that, they start everything and all that, and right up to right at night 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock that goes. See, when the temple is open, every member of public is, whether he is allowed to visit the place or not. That is the first criteria. Okay. See, every member of public can go and visit that temple when it is open, then it will be called a public religious place. But there are certain places where the entry is restricted for a particular religion only. Okay. So that is possible. A temple, a Jains or a particular, it is devoted to a particular religion, then it can be for a particular religion. But generally speaking, then when matters are going to high courts and other courts and all that, then they don't say that, they say that no, you can't restrict the entry to ladies, you can't restrict entries to other people. This is how the verdicts high courts are giving. But generally speaking, the law is such that when the only entry is restricted to a small section of the people and public are not allowed to enter in it, it is a private temple, not governed, but it is allowed for all general public, then it will be a public religious place. Moving ahead. Then society registered under 1860 Act will be covered. Then public trust must be for benefit of public at large or some considerable portion of it. It cannot be for benefit of the relatives of the settler only. It has to be for the benefit of a large fluctuating body. Beneficiary should be large fluctuating body. It not necessary that it should benefit to a substantially large section of, but it should benefit to substantially large section of public as compared to very small section of public. It is not necessary that it should benefit the whole of the mankind, but the purpose should be for the benefit of large section of public. Going ahead. Now definition of temple is there, very simple, you can read it later. And mutt is there for your knowledge, you can read it later. Now this is a interesting and important definition I am bringing to your notice. You may not have read it also, but I am just bringing to your notice, because this interested person has power to approach to charity commissioner and has some right, and he can complain about the mismanagement, etc. He can request charity commissioner, interested person can request charity commissioner to settle a scheme. One person can request charity commissioner to look into the affairs of the trust. So this is an important definition. In case of temple, who it could be? There are 6-7 categories: temple, mutt, separate categories. In case of temple, every villager or person who is residing in nearby area, the person who goes there, performs prayer, takes part in prayer, performs or takes part in the festivities, he can go to charity commissioner office. Okay? Even then, supposing he is not going there, but he has, as a Hindu, I have right to visit a particular temple, I can go and complain to charity commissioner. I am not going to that temple, but as a Hindu, I have right to go to the visit to that temple. Okay, I can go to the charity commissioner office. I am an interested person. And then, secondly, here another important thing, another important form which would be relevant. In case of the society registered under 1860 Act, any member of such society, remember, not managing committee, not member of the managing committee, any member of the society. Okay, moving ahead. And in case of any other public trust, any trustee or any beneficiary also. Beneficiary is also interested person. I am beneficiary, so I can also go to the charity commissioner office. Now essential elements of the trust, I'll just cover. 4 or 5 elements are there. The words which are expressed, there should be certainty about the words, there should be certainty about the intention, there should be certainty about the property, what is the property, what is the purpose, what is the intention for which trust is created, and who are the beneficiaries. These 4 or 5 elements, the intention on the part of the person who creates the trust, the purpose, the beneficiary, and trust property. And trust property, in the end, at the time of making trust, the trust property has to be transferred by settlor or author to the trustees. This is a essential condition. These are the essential conditions. Now what is the trust property? It could be 500 rupees only. The trusts are created with 500 rupees only. The matters have gone and fought up to High Court and Supreme Court. The court have said, okay, it was formed with 500 rupees. There is a transfer of property. Subsequently, the lot of money has come and they have carried out activity. You cannot object that the trust has started with only 500 rupees. So there has to be some money, some property. It could be immovable property. It could be movable property equivalent to 500 rupees or 1000 rupees or 10,000 rupees. Only related factor is that what is the value of property, what is the amount settled, the stamp duty that is to be affixed to the document of the trust or trust deed is 2% of the value of the property. Universal law as far as the Maharashtra is concerned. So value of the 10,000 rupees is the initial money settled, 2% of that. 5,000, 2% of that. 100 rupees, 2% of that. Okay, but there has to be transfer of some property from settlor to trustees, and trustees can comprise of settlor also. He can be one of the trustees also, but still there has to be transfer. There cannot be a position like there is a one settlor and one trustee who is settlor itself. No, not possible. That will not do. Along with settlor, there has to be few other trustees, then it is permissible. But as far as law is concerned, settlor transfers his property to himself. That there will not be a transfer of property in that case. Trustee and settlor are same. One trustee is allowed, settlor is allowed. Even then trust is created if the intention is clear. I have got a house, I am settling it in trust. So now once I create a trust on that particular house and I say I have divested, I am not a owner of this, then it becomes clear that I am not owner of the property. Henceforth, the property has been transferred, or technically the ownership, I have divested of the ownership. But all other cases, there is a transfer of the property from the settlor to the trustees. Now what can be created? The trust can be created by word of mouth. This is as per decision of the court, don't go by it. Then no formal language is necessary to create a trust, but here again it is as per as one of the important case law. But say, remember one thing, going by the way department is going, income tax department is going, you need to have a properly codified, properly drafted instrument with clear object, clear rules of management in your hand, otherwise your claim for registration will fail. Okay, so law says no document is required. Now not relevant, you need to have a proper document. Now purpose must be lawful. I am not going into this. This is as per this is copy paste of as a law of contract, Indian law of contract, and again we are referring to definition of Indian Trust Act 1882, because the Trust Act is MPT Act is silent on this aspect. The trust has to be for lawful purpose. It cannot be for unlawful purpose. Yes, sir. Okay. So now the important aspect, I will cover important aspect of, now we are coming to formation of the trust, important aspects of it. There has to be one author or settlor. If a trust property consists of a property which is being initially given consists of a flat and which is owned by 4 people, then there will be 4 settlers. But if it is a single ownership, then there will be 1 settlor. If 5,000 or 1,000 rupees is transferred, there could be 1 settlor. And trustees, now trustees could be permanent. There are 2 variations. Generally the trustees are permanent trustees, or they are also called trustees for lifetime. This is a standard format. Or in some trusts there is a combination of both, either permanent trustees or trustees for particular period also, say 3 years. After 3 years he will vacate the post and he can reoffer for election, but then post will become vacant, and that's how. But law does not say so. All these things have to be codified in the trust deed also, or whatever has been mentioned in the trust deed, that has to be followed. Now there has to be transfer of property. I have said trust fund. Now what is the trust fund? That is to be described. Office of the trust. Okay. Office of the trust is also generally at the beginning there is no office of the trust. It could be the address of any of the trustees, one of the trustees. Then objects could be charitable or religious, or a combination of both. Then what are the rules of management? That has to be described. And the meetings. Important thing to note is MPT Act does not have any provisions with respect to meetings. The Societies Registration Act does not have any specific provision with respect to even annual general meeting. Okay, it is your trust deed or it is your memorandum, rules and regulation, which says these are the meetings to be held and this is the frequency of the meeting. So what you have described, trustee meeting should be every quarter, then it is according to that. Trustee meeting should be once in 6 months, then it is according to that. Or trustee meeting as deemed necessary, then it is according to that. Whatever has been described, law does not specify anything about this. Okay. But you are all auditors, I suppose, chartered accountant, I suppose. I will narrate a funny incident. Case came to me after it was audited by several chartered accountants, and it came for compliance under Charity Act, change of trustees and all that. I said, you provide me resolution and all that, all these details. They say, we don't have resolutions and all that. I ask, you maintain minute books or not? We don't maintain minute books. I ask them whether you hold the meetings or not. They say, we don't hold. I said, this is your report by a chartered accountant which says there is a minute book produced to us. Minutes. Whether minutes are maintained? Yes. Whether meetings are regularly held as mentioned in the trust deed? Yes. So as an auditor, what we are doing or what we are supposed to do, audit part, if I get time, I will cover in detail. So we are saying we have not seen a minute book. We are not asked that trustee we are holding meeting or not or so, but then we are mentioning there that minutes are minutes book is there and all that. Don't do that. So here rule applicable is what is contained in the trust deed. Trust deed says so many meetings are to be held. Rules and regulation of the society said so many meetings are to be held. Say every quarter meeting to be held. You have to comment on that aspect when you carry out the audit. Okay. So this becomes the basic rules. Then accounting year, there are options available, but generally these options, all these options are possible. That is 31st March ending, December ending, then June ending, then Diwali to Diwali, but better to follow 31st March. Charity Commissioner permits all this, but you can follow, better to follow 31st March. It coincides with your income tax financial year, previous year. Now, important thing is, if you are drafting a trust deed, it necessary to have a irrevocability clause. If there is no, this clause is not there, your registration case will be registration, they will not allow it. Okay. And dissolution, earlier they were asking, they were not aware about the law. Now they have dropped this query, I suppose. But you may include the provision with respect to dissolution in case of the trust deed. Not necessary absolutely, but you may have the provision with respect to dissolution. But the provision should run like this, that in the case of dissolution, the property or the funds of the trust or the society will be given to the trust having similar objects. It cannot be distributed among the members or the trustees. Okay, going ahead. Then signature of the settlor and trustees. Okay, so this is how the trust deed is created. 2 witnesses are required, no registration. Registration is required with charity commissioner. I will come to it little later. Then objects I have already described. It can be formed for public religious purposes or charitable purposes or combination of both. But the thing that you have to keep in mind, that applicability of section 80G, if it is formed for religious purposes, you will not get 80G. That will not be granted. Okay. And you are having a organization which is then you have to keep in mind that income tax provision of 115 BBC anonymous donation also, when you are thinking of forming a association or when you are drafting objects. Now this definition as per the Maharashtra Public Trust Act, charitable purpose definition, quite simple definition, and it has not undergone many changes over the period of time. It came into the act in 1950, and sometime back in 1971 or 72 small changes were made. Otherwise the definition continues like that. Okay, more or less it matches with the old income tax definition, that is the section 2 subsection 15 old, that relief of poverty, it shall include relief of poverty, then education, medical relief, but in further describes facilities for recreation or leisure time occupation, etc., etc. Then it provides, it goes to advancement of any other object of general public utility. Okay, but it should not or it shall not include a purpose which relates exclusively to religious teaching. So object of public utility will not include religious teaching. That is very much clear, because religious purpose is separate and religious purpose is not defined anywhere. Then it goes further and says provision of facilities at village hall, community center and women's institute, etc., etc. Okay, this is again an inclusive definition. Like we have definition under Income Tax Act 215, this is also an inclusive definition. Income tax definition, because of provision, have become very complex and obnoxious, problematic. And just a small comparison with section 2 clause 15 of the Income Tax Act. Yoga is not specifically here. Preservation of environment and monuments, etc., is not specifically covered over here. Okay, and proviso to 215, that is a recent addition to Income Tax Act, that is not there. Okay, because this is a very old definition. Now religious purpose. Religious purpose, okay, half an hour gone. Religious purpose is not defined under MPT Act. Religious purpose is not defined anywhere. So what we understand is a religious purpose, installing deities, then offering prayers, carrying out pujas, carrying out festivals, festivities under particular religion. This is all religious purpose. Okay, But there is one important judgment. So celebrating festival like now that Kumbh Mela is going on, so that is all religious. Then celebrating Ram Navami, Ganesh Utsav, Navaratri, these are all religious activities. Okay. Then there is one important decision. If you need to use it, you can use it. Absolutely beautiful decision. If you get time, I have given it citation. I am not going into details of it. Absolutely beautiful decision of tribunal. You can go into it. Shiv Mandir Devasthan Panch Committee, Nagpur bench, ITAT Nagpur bench decision. It says Hinduism is a way of life. Worshipping of Lord Shiva, Hanumanji and Goddess Durga and expenditure on maintenance of temple is not a religious purpose. Why it has been said so? You have to find out from body of that judgment itself. Mainly in nutshell, I will tell you that organization was also carrying out tailoring training and distributing spectacles to free spectacles to needy people, etc. So they were carrying out certain charitable activities. So SSC representative contended before the tribunal that look, say here we are carrying out our expense. This came under section 80G5 when they went for approval under section 80G5. Look, our expenditure is not exceeding 5%. We may only spend minuscule amount only on for pujas and prayer and all that. Our activities are different. We carry out yoga training, tailoring training and sewing training and distribute this free spectacles, etc. Members went ahead. They said, and one interesting point that SSC representative made, AR made, that one who has got, this is not restricted and devoted to Hindu religion only. One who has got faith in Shiva can also come in that temple, and one who does not have faith in Shiva can also visit the temple. We are not restricting entry to anybody in belonging, depending on the religion. Judge members accepted this contention and they went ahead and they improvised and they said these Goddess Durga, Hanumanji, Lord Shiva, they do not belong to Hindu religion. They are superpowers of the universe. So offering prayers to them, worshipping them is not a furthering of Hindu religion. That is what they said, and they said it is not expenditure on a religious purpose. Very interesting. You can read that when you get time. Okay, this part I have already made clear. Thankfully, the stamp duty rates are still same, 2% settlement. These are two related instruments. If there is a disposition or settlement of the property for the religious or charitable purpose, then it will be 2% of the value of the or amount of the money settled. Same for the trust. These are two articles, related articles. Trust also, it is 2% of the value or amount of the property. This I have already explained. I have given for reference. Now registration of the public trust. Okay. Now once trust deed is made, you have to apply to the office of registrar, office of assistant charity commissioner, and you can find out from the site of charity commissioner. You can go, if you type Dharmadaya Ayukta, if you type charity commissioner in Maharashtra, you get that site. And you want to find out a particular office for registration, you get a map, and there you can, if you click it, you get which is the office where you have to go, where your place falls. So for every district there are almost every district there are offices. Here in Mumbai we have office which is a head office, and district office also. We head office at Sasmira, Worli, and then we have office nearby Thane, then we have office at Palghar, then Nasik, Jalgaon, Bilgaon, etc. everywhere. Pune, Satara, Solapur, Sangli, sab jagah hai. Okay. Now what are the documents required? Now first thing first. Earlier the process was offline. You understand offline, online now. Okay. Life was simple when it was offline, and things used to happen without hassle. Now in the hybrid mode, you have to first prepare documents. Documents list I have given, I will come to it. You have to prepare document, you need to have trust deed, then you need to have a consent letter of the trustees that they consent to the act as a trustees. They give authority to one trustee, they need to give office proof, They need to give KYC of the trustees, photos of the trustees, so on and so forth. 4, 5, 6 requirements. Now they want mobile number and email number of the trustees also. What they do with it, I don't know. But they want that. They don't do anything with that. But as far as the accounts are concerned, then that facility is operational. They are sending mail to your email ID. But otherwise, they are collecting this email ID and mobile number at the time of registration. Okay. Now all these documents you have to create. You have to upload online. And once you upload online, the acknowledgement is generated. That acknowledgement that is generated, along with that acknowledgement, the set of the document has to be submitted to Charity Commissioner Office. Then thereafter, there is no time limit. It depends on your follow-up. If you go there every 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and sit on their head and politely, and ask them, क्या हुआ मेरा केस का, what has happened, क्या हुआ, कहाँ तक आया, then they sometimes they also don't know, because some of the staff there are not trained in computers and how to use computers and all that. There is a problem. The systems are also not proper. Out of 5 days, they are down 2 days. We have complained to Charity Commissioner, sir, out of 100 days the system is not working. For 5 days it's okay. Out of 5 days it is not working. Out of 5 days in a week, 3 days it is not working. What kind of percentage is this? We have complained to Charity. He was very patient. He gave us patient hearing and all that. They are trying to improvise. They are making digitalizing record and all that. With the existing Charity Commissioner, Mr. Amok Kalati, things are improving. But still they move at a slow pace, and it may take any number of days, ranging from 2 months to 6 months. Now the process is, first you submit an application online, then you submit application physically, then you have to follow with that office physically, keep on visiting that office. They will give you requirements and all that. If at all, they will ask you to modify trust deed or documents and carry out the corrections if required, and they will ask you to upload the corrected documents, etc., and registration is granted. The process is fairly simple, not very complicated, and they don't take too many objections. The trustee has to go there, and chartered accountants can go. Actually, there is a widespread belief in the office of Charity Commissioner also, and in the chartered accountant fraternity also, that they can't go. But you have to go there. Okay, if you go there, 90 to 95% advocates are carrying out that practice. But you want to, young people want to carry out that practice, we support you. If you have complaints, refer to institute. We are making regular representations, and as and when good officers are there, listen to us and make some improvements. Okay, but you can go. Now there are hearing mechanisms. For advocates, there is Wakalatnama standard format. Okay. For chartered accountant, I have been appearing there for quite a few years. Sometimes they accept letter of authority, just 10 rupees court fee stamp to be affixed. Sometimes they don't ask for that also. Sometimes we go with the trustee. Sometimes we don't go with the trustee. Sometimes we give power of attorney, just we produce like to income tax department, all that. Sometimes they ask notarized power of attorney. No uniformity. But you can go, you can represent. Okay. And some officer then they ask me, you are chartered accountant, you cannot come here. I said, Rule 7 of the MPT Act, it clearly says, where is the restriction to chartered accountant? Rule says either the reporting trustee can appear in person, or he can authorize any person, he can authorize any agent, or he can authorize a pleader. So pleader means advocates. Okay. So we are allowed. Then he allowed me. Okay. Sometimes they object, some do not object. It depends. But you have to have that courage and go ahead. No, not necessary. Temple, you say it is a name, temple, we are going to construct in future. Change the name. As I said, law says there can be one trustee. I had to bend. because their system was not accepting minimum one person. What you will do? Now, if the presiding officer changes, the other officer may allow, but at this time, he is she the lady is objecting. I know, I have heard such cases. Yes, she is objecting. She is knowledgeable that way, but you have to be flexible here. You have to get through. You have to be flexible. They say these changes are to be carried out in the. Then you can say, you can draw her attention. What comes to my mind? You show a definition of public trust. Section 2, subsection 13. Sorry. I think, yes. Means an express 213 public trust means an express or constructive trust for either a public religious or charitable purpose or both, and includes a temple. We are going to form a temple in future. We have 500 rupees only now. No. Wrong application of law. Okay. But then otherwise you take some different name and register, and then you carry out the activities of the day. What is there? Okay, where were we? Yes, we were in registration process. Okay, sorry for the diversion. We were in registration process. Okay, so this registration process, once the registration process, here as far as the filling of the form is concerned, then again one thing you remember, that schedule 2 is there, that 200 rupees court fee stamp is to be affixed. Recently you know the reason, that Ladki Behna, Ladli Behna, it has resulted into this. So 100 rupees court fee stamp was to be affixed. Now this last July only the government has changed schedule B to the act, and stamp duty which was court fee stamp which was there 100 rupees has been made 200 rupees. In some cases it was 150 rupees, has been increased to 3000 rupees also. So as far as the application for registration and the change report is there, the court fee stamp that is to be affixed is of 200 rupees value. Now in case when you are filling up the and it is to be notarized, actually the power is given of verification. Verification can be done at the office of charity commissioner, but they don't have time now, or they don't give. Sometimes if the bench clerk is cooperative, he will sign. Bench clerks have been given power to, like say notary. Okay, deputy or assistant charity commissioner has got power of verification. You can sign before him. They don't have time. But a bench clerk has been given power. Superintendents and given. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't do. So it depends on their mood. So it is better that documents, when it says the document to be verified, application to be verified, you have to get it verified. You have to get notarized from your notary only, and then you go there. Okay. And while filling up the application, there I will draw your attention to, there are certain details like approximate value of the movable and immovable property. If the property is there, you mention. New trust is there, there is no movable immovable property, what is cash in your hand, that you can mention. Then estimated expenses or income for 3 years to be mentioned, but this is in respect of old trust only. Old trust which was there, which has not gone for registration for several years, there this clause will be applicable, but otherwise the estimated expenses and estimated income is not to be given. Supposing the trust is having property at the time of registration, like say property is settled, say some other properties are there, say temple you are really going this then like Gram Panchayat has made a resolution and there is a temple, then you can declare that temple as a property. Then whatever other puja and prayers instruments are there, you can declare that property there. If at all it is there, you can declare, instead of accepting small value property. Okay. Now once everything is submitted, the registration is normally granted. one important procedure is there as far as almost every procedure with charity commissioner office is affidavit is submitted. Evidence affidavit is required to be submitted. Here also affidavit is required to be submitted. Affidavit is not required to be on stamp paper. It is in a standard format. They have that format. That affidavit is to be given, and only 10 rupees court fee stamp is to be affixed. The signature can be done, verification can be done by bench clerk there, or it has to be notarized. Now, public notice is essential in case or before granting registrations. Once you submit application, they found name is okay and all that, all other papers are okay, then say that 30 days public notice is to be published. That is published in some small newspapers, so it reduces cost. There are some agents are sitting there, you can find out there, ground floor, and they publish at even 1,000, 2,000 rupees they publish. Otherwise, if you go to a leading newspaper, they will that cost you around 3,000, 4,000 rupees. So, but that public notice, they give you a format signed by the Office of Charity Commissioner, that is to be published, and once the 30 days are completed from the date of publication of that notice, then you can approach the Office of Charity Commissioner and then say everything is completed, then they grant you registration and registration certificate. Okay? These are the questions that the officer answers, whether trust exists, whether there is a property, and what are the addresses, who are the managers, what is the mode of succession, and all that. What is the procedural? By any chance, very remote case, your application is rejected, by any chance your application is rejected, then in that case you can go in appeal. Now, one important change they have made here, entries in the register. The register is maintained that by the Office of Charity Commissioner pertaining to the trust under section 17, that is schedule 1. It contains all the particulars, like in form of registration schedule 2, there are 1 to 28 columns. All these, that schedule 1 also has 1 to 28 columns, that name, address and all that, trustees details, mode of succession, property and all that ends with column number 28. Okay, so all these details are again what are there in application form, they are mentioned, all mentioned there. That they have started maintaining in electronic. They have made the law, changes in the law, saying that now it can be maintained in electronic form also. They have started the process of digitization of pending trust, new trust and all that is happening. Most probably after 2 years or 1 or 2 years, everything will be streamlined. That is, I am hopeful. Now, in case of public trust created by will, in case of will, what happens? The person bequeaths his property. He has mentioned in his will before his death that out of my 5 property, this property has to is for charitable or religious purposes. Okay. What happens? Who are the executors of that will? The executor of that will too has to, after the death of the person, within 6 months of the testator's death or within 1 month of getting a probate, whichever is earlier, the person executor has to go to the charity commissioner office concerned and make an application in a normal format. But in case of will, there is no stamp duty involved. Okay, in case of will, you are aware. In case of will, registration is not compulsory, stamp duty is not compulsory, registration is optional. The same law applies here. Okay, but the executor has to carry out this function as a, like say in case of a trust created, someone has to go there, trustee has to go there for registration. Here it is duty of the executor. We have 1 hour, correct? You are ready to sit, na? Ready to sit? Okay. Formation of the society. This is formation of the society. This is another form that I have said under 1860 Act. Okay, and the formats run like there is a memorandum of association and there is a rules and regulation, and for what purposes minimum 7 persons are required, and for what purposes the 1860 Act society can be formed? For all charitable and religious purposes it can be formed. It says 7 or more persons associated for any literary, scientific or charitable purpose as described, or for any such purpose as is described in section 20. What is section 20? Section 20 says, further says, promotion of science, then literature, fine arts, then diffusion of useful knowledge, then libraries, reading rooms, museums, etc., art galleries, etc.
When society is formed and when trust is formed.
I'll explain. Just hold on. Okay. So here then there is included midway diffusion of political education. Charitable societies cannot be formed for the purpose of diffusion of political education of political purpose, not allowed. High Court has negated this contention, barring that for all charitable purposes. Here in definition part, religious purpose is not mentioned, but when you go to the registration section allowing registration public trust, it says it is for public, religious or charitable purpose. So society can be for charitable purpose, society can also be for religious purpose. Now contents of the memorandum very simple. Name of the society, you are aware of the memorandum of association of the company and articles of association of the company. It runs on the similar lines, but this is a non-profit organization. Now important part is jurisdiction. First part is contents of the rules and regulation, definition, it describes various terms. Then jurisdiction could be all over India. If you describe Maharashtra, it will be Maharashtra. But let me tell you, as far as if you are registered, if you say that if you are registered in Maharashtra, in trust deed you are not mentioned a jurisdiction, you can carry out activity anywhere. You can purchase property anywhere in India. That is not a problem. Then in case of society, it is better to mention activities all over India. Okay. So jurisdiction you have to mention, or it must have been mentioned. Then going ahead, membership, minimum membership should be 7. Financial year you have to describe, but it is better to follow April to March. Then types of members could be, it depends. See, whenever you want to form a trust or you want to form a society, refer to some good book on the subject, study 2-3 drafts, then think over it, sit quietly, ponder over it, and then you follow you adopt a particular form of a presentation or particular format. Don't just blindly follow a particular format without understanding. Consult a senior, say supposing you are not understanding, but as far as possible, use simple language. Okay. Then ceasing to be a member, like say who can be a member. There are n number of possibilities. Without payment there can be a member, there can be honorary member, there can be life member, there can be patron member, there can be annual member, there can be person who pays me. It is up to you. Yes? Managing committee members tenure, that depends on you. Supposing if you describe in the rules and regulation tenure of the managing committee is 3 years, then every 3 years election to be held, that will be mentioned there. If you have mentioned the tenure of the managing committee will be 1 year, the election will have to be held 1 year. It is up to you to describe, or what is described in the rules and regulation. It is better to keep it at either 3 years or 5 years. It is better, advisable. Okay. No, there is no minimum maximum limit. Generally 3 years or 5 years is followed. Generally. Yes. 10 years nobody is doing, but you can have. There is no bar in the law. You can have. Then see, all these things you study in detail. Say I have codified it. These are the standard clauses which should be there and which are useful, but you need to study a good draft and then think about it, which is a proper format to follow. And then because the trust law and the society law are silent on the many aspects, means what is the term of the trustees, what is the term of the committee, your question, what is the tenure of the committee, how much period they should be there in office, how they will retire, how they will be re-elected, how will the meetings will be held, what is the period for which the notice period should be 3 days or 7 days, whether AGM should be held, when it should be held. All these has to be described in the instrument, because law is silent on this aspect. And once you describe it in this trust deed, or once you describe it in memorandum and rules and regulation particularly, it will become filan. final. It becomes codified for you. They become like letter of law. You have to follow them in future. About meeting and minutes, I have already explained. Then in case of society, you need to have clause of dissolution, compulsory. Okay. In trust, you may or may not have clause of dissolution, but in case of society, you need to have a clause of dissolution. Now documents required at the time of registration, first and foremost rule is again online process, and you have to submit 2 sets. You need to submit 2 sets because you will be granted 2 registration certificate, one under 1860 Act and another after some few months time it will be under Maharashtra Public Trust Act. No separate procedure is involved. At the time of registration of the society only you have to submit 2 sets. Okay. So consent of the members you have to give under both the laws. Authority letter you have to give under both the laws. Okay. So 2 sets you have to submit. Copies, self-certified copies of the Aadhaar card you have to give 2 sets. Okay. Everything you have to submit in 2 sets. 2-3 additional requirements are there in case of registration of the society. They are resolution in the standard format that is available on website. You can download it. Then address proof. Okay. Then schedule 1, 2 and 6. What is 1, 2 and 6? 1, 2 and 6 not as per MPT Act. Information as per schedule 1, 2 and 6 as per society's rules. Okay. That is information in respect to employees, information in respect to members of the societies, and information in respect to managing committee member. So there would be no employees that will run blank mostly at the time of in the case of new society, but managing committee members and members would be there. So 2 schedules will be filled up. So that information will go for the purpose of registration. That's all. Now online process I have explained same. Only exception is in trust it takes minimum 2 to 3 months because a public notice is required, which requires 30 days time from the date of publication. Unless until that 30 days time is completed, you cannot go carry out further process of registration and they can't grant you certificate. But in case of society, you can make an application exempting you from the publication of paper notice, rule 7A I think, and there you are allowed exemption, and that way that exemption is granted and no need to publish a paper notice in this case, in case of society. So registration earlier, before the starting of online system, even in Thana, I had registered a case in Thana. They used to call it what? Very interesting term. They used to call it one-day match. With the day you go there, I have prepared all the papers. I am going there on a particular date. Same day, throughout the days happening, throughout the day, entire procedure is completed, and after 2-3 days certificate was given. In Mumbai also 2 years back, the certificate in case of society was given in under 10 to 15, at the most 10 days time. Now it takes more time because of that online process. Now this is the important part, just for your knowledge, system of coding. This is a system of coding which is not in law, but they follow this system for their purposes since long. That is, a trust, it purely temple is there without a trust deed, then it will be described, it will have registration number starting with A. Then Muslim religious organization is there without a trust deed, then it will be given registration will start with number B, so and so forth, Parsi, Christian, etc. And even a religious, Hindu religious organization which is formed with a trust deed, they will give a number starting with E. So when any organization formed with trust deed, whether religious or charitable, the registration number will start with E, and a society registered under 1860 Act, the number will start with number F. Okay. In case of trust, only one certificate of registration is there. In case of societies, 2 registration certificates are there. First under 1860 Act and second under Maharashtra Public Trust Act. Clear? Now, registration, I will come to your question, Sudhir. Registration of Section 8 company under Companies Act. Now, for what all purposes you can form a trust, for all what purposes you can form a society, for the similar purposes you can form a Section 8 company also. Okay. Now, there are certain, it has to be for charitable purposes, non-profit making organization, no dividend to be distributed. Okay. No, now there are certain privileges for these companies. What are these privileges? The license under Section 8 is granted. There is requirement of minimum, this is not covered under MPT Act. I am just covering it here because it is a similar type of organization. It doesn't fall under MPT law procedures, it falls under MCA. Okay, Companies Act, all compliance. Requirement of minimum period, I have given a notification. It consists of all the exemptions, privileges which are available for Section 8 companies. Many are there, about 15, 20 are there. So important ones I have listed here. That restriction on number of directors is not there, minimum paid up capital is not there, independent director is not required. Okay, so far and so good. Dangerous part is last one. In case of charitable organization falling under category of trust or the society and you are registered with Charity Commissioner, they first of all they don't proceed against you. If at all they proceed against you, they don't levy fine. And if they levy fine, it is not much, 10,000 and so on and so forth. But here in case of non-compliance with any of the requirements of Section 8, fine of rupees 10 lakh to 1 crore for a company. Be aware. Then fine of rupees 25,000 to 25 lakh to director. This is a red line. This is a red line. So unless and until the parties, now your question, I am answering. So unless and until if the trust or society wants to carry out activity in the range of say 10-15 lakh, they are going to collect and they are going to spend, not beyond 15-20 lakh or 50 lakh, trust and society format is better. Minimal requirement, not much hassle. You have to keep terms of the trustees as lifetime, better. Okay. And in case of society, you can keep the tenure of 5 years, better, not much hassles. Only hassle is if you go for a sale of property, then you have to approach to the Charity Commissioner. That is a problem. But if you are acquiring a property, not going for a sale of property, your life is simple in trust and society format. Okay. And they are eventually moving in online mode, but it will take time. Okay. But the penalties are not too harsh. Okay. But ease wise, the company format is better. If you want to, but it is costlier. Formation expenses, registration expenses, it is a costly mechanism, 2 or 3 times of what is required for formation and registration of the trust. And again, compliance, that audit and all that, that is again a costlier. You have to follow accounting standards in case of company. So the people behind the organization are techno savvy, people are quite educated and all that, and they know company, how to run a company. They can go for Section 8 company. Okay. Otherwise, and they are thinking of say expenditure or income in a range of 2 crore, 3 crore, 5 crore, etc. substantial volume. Then they can afford that to spend on penalties also and incur expenses on administration also, not a problem. So the people behind it, either trustee, they want to be trustee, or they want to be managing committee member, or they want to be a director. They have to decide which form of organization they have to choose. That is choice for them.
My question is when you will form registration under Society Act and when you will form under trust?
Trust is trust. Registered under Maharashtra Public Trust Act only, finish. Simple. Society under 1860 Act, first registered as a society, and then automatically it is required to be registered. You submit 2 sets, so it is again required to be registered under MPT Act, 2 dual certificates of registration, because in Maharashtra law says so, and for administration purpose it is there. So society once formed and registered, the definition says it is again to be registered as a trust. Clear? It is in Maharashtra only. It is in Maharashtra. No. See one. See, these are totally two different forms. First thing first, trust form is better. Trust form, out of these three forms, trust form is better if you are looking at level of activity of 5, 10, 15 lakh rupees. Trust form is always better. There should be 3 or 4 or 5 trustees. You can describe, the trustees will have meeting as deemed fit, as and when necessary. Simple. You can have 1 or 2 meetings as and when needed for major decisions. You can run the activities. The trustee can continue till the lifetime. On the death of the trustee or resignation of the trustee, trustee will be replaced. If the minimum trustees, say there are 5 trustees, minimum number of trustees are 2, 5 trustees are there, one person expires, there are still 4 trustees, no problem. Unless and until your number goes below 2, there is no harm. If your minimum number of trustees is 2 and your number goes to 1, then you have to approach to Charity Commissioner under section 47. But if there is a vacancy in the post of the trustee because of death or resignation, and within 6 months you make a fresh appointment, there is no problem. So I advise people, follow a trust form. It is better instead of society form. Society, when people go for society, you are, first of all, you have a big team. You are minimum 7 members to manage. Then one wants post of president, one wants post of secretary, one wants post of treasurer. I have seen in certain number of organizations the managing committee runs into 21. One president, 2 vice president, one secretary, 2 joint secretaries, like that. So it depends on your choice. But if there is a large body which is in control of the affairs, the managing becomes difficult. Calling for meeting becomes difficult. If there are 4 or 5 people, which is not possible in case of society you require minimum 7 people. So if there are 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 people managing a small charitable activity, that is a better form of organization, and a form to choose is a trust form of organization. Okay?
The only advantage I feel society is that you can get extended your activity
Yes.
across the country.
Nahin.
It's registered under 1860.
Yeah, it is a central law.
Yeah,
But you describe your jurisdiction as all over India. Yeah, trust also you can carry out activity all over India. There is no problem technically. You can carry out. There is no issue.
structure can be amended.
Yes?
Once we are registered under society,
Yes, it can be amended.
there we also got this trust certificate too, registration also.
Yes.
If we want to split it and want to become only trust, is it possible?
Mm-hmm.
And even the
Change of form not possible.
even the amendment to the memorandum and all of the
That is possible. Amendment to memorandum is possible. Change in memorandum is possible. There is a procedure for it. Change in rules and regulation is possible. There is a rule for it. But change in a trust deed also, for changing trust deed, scheme can be settled. Okay? So everything is possible. In Maharashtra, change in rules, change in memorandum, name, subject, everything is possible. Even trust deed changes are possible. Other parts of the country, actually it is not easy. Changing trust deed, there are so many judgments. They say that changes in the trust deed not possible. But in Maharashtra, changes in the trust deed can be made even in change of objects. Okay? That can be made by way of scheme. It should be allowed by Charity Commissioner Office. That's all. Okay.
that needs to be done offline generally, or those also amendments also needs to be done online.
No, that is offline. Barring registration process, barring uploading of accounts, everything is offline. Okay?
One more.
Yes.
You are getting registration for under in the Society Registration Act and Public Charitable Trust Act. Whether you have to compliance two compliances for annually.
No. Compliance under MPT Act only. Societies are roped in under the provisions of the Maharashtra Public Trust Act for the purpose of compliance purpose only. So compliance under, you go under. If you see Society Act, format of balance sheet is 3. Schedule 3. Income and expenditure Schedule 4. But when it is registered under MPT Act, we go for Schedule 8 balance sheet. Schedule 9.
9C, yes.
Okay. Now, other important compliances, we have about 30 to 40 minutes at the most, correct? Important compliances, studying law related to trust has become tiring, and I understand you must have tired after listening, but I was listening to, sorry that I am really sorry that I could not come in morning, and I listened to the presentation by Gautam Shah. He is an expert in the subject. We also carry out work related to FCRA, but his knowledge is in depth. So you must have enjoyed being here. I am sure. And since morning the speakers were there, I am very sure they are very knowledgeable speakers. But even then, the job is assigned to me that I have to deliver a lecture on this subject, and let me do justice to that subject. Okay, half part I have finished. Remaining part I will cover in remaining time which is available with me. 2-3 important compliances I will focus on, which is really relevant. I have given elaborate exhaustive note, but I will cover the 2-3 important ones. Important compliances under MPT Act. First and foremost is once the trust is registered, society is registered, you know that accounts are to be submitted and all that, audit to be carried out, that you know. Budget also, people know, people don't do, but people know, okay? But this part people do not know, okay? I receive cases, it is really a tough job. Say, as I said, the trust law, the Societies Act does not say that you have a meeting, you have tenure of managing committee of 1 year, but certain old societies are having tenure of 1 year of managing committee. So that means they have to have election every year, and they have to approach before charity commissioner, and it has become a very costly affair now, because earlier the procedure was quite simple. They were asking for minimal documents. Now they are asking an n number of documents. We will see. Now, whenever there is any change, mark this word, I'll talk about it little later, any change. What do you mean any change? Any change means you have submitted details at the time of registration in form of registration, right from name, object, then movable property, immovable property, trustees or managing committee details, so on and so forth, 28 items. If there is any change in respect of that, then you have to submit a change report. But that means, supposing trust is having new trust, it has started activity, it has purchased table for 10,000 rupees, chairs for another 3,000 rupees, 13,000 rupees. You have to report? Technically yes. Technically yes, but it would be very difficult. But that in that case, what you can do is, for what purposes the change report is to be submitted. I have made representation on this point to the ministry, but they have not understood it and they have not made changes. I have a bad habit of making representation to the ministry. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't listen. 90% of the time they don't listen, 10% of the time they listen. I made representation on this. Some of the aspects I have made representation that that bore fruits. The time limits was not there in the various sections of the law. Now they have put time. Devendra Fadnavis was minister last time. That time I have made a representation. They sit on change report for years together. Now they have put a limit here. This last year they have put a, because of my representation or all not, forget about it. But they have put a time limit now. With the last amendment they have made 2-3 places they have brought in time limits. Another 2-3 places they have brought in time limits. It's a good change. Anyway, so about this I have made representation. Nothing has come out of it. So law stands as it is. So there is any change. But you have to remember, if there is a change in name, change in object, or if there is a change in a trustees, if there is a purchase of property, resignation of the trustee, election, appointment of the trustee, in simple word, change in name or objects, office address, one thing. Secondly, addition, deletion to trustee, or change in managing committee. Or you are making substantial investment also, some religious means those who want to follow the law religiously, letter and spirit, they are going to the charity commissioner office. So we have got this investment made in FDs and all that, so we are filing a change report. That is also happening. But where it should be done, it must be done is change in trustees, addition or deletion of trustees, resignation of trustees, appointment of new trustees, purchase of new property, not sale. Sale is a separate section. Purchase of property, you have to go before charity commissioner under this section. Form is schedule number 3. Court fee stamp affix, to be affixed was rupees 200. There is specific format which you have to follow, and with the format, earlier in case of death of the trustee, we used to earlier, some 7-8 years back, we used to give simply enclosed death certificate and they used to approve the change report. Now they don't approve. For each and everything, for each and every change in, let it be change in name, let it be change in name of object, let it be death of the trustees, let it be resignation, everything there has to be meeting, there has to be notice of the meeting, there has to be attendance of the meeting, there has to be a record of the meeting, the list of trustees has to be given. All this documentation part has increased and it has to be given every time there is the change in trustee, either this way or that way. Okay? I have given a list of documents. Now affidavit, as usual, along with the list of document. Now let us take a case of addition of the trustees, 1 or 2 cases. Addition of the trustees, supposing there is a addition of the trustee to be appointed, then there has to be resolution for his appointment, then there has to be his consent has to be there. Okay, then list of trustees on the date of meeting is to be there, then notice of the meeting, etc., etc., so on and so forth. In case of death, copy of the death certificate is to be enclosed additionally. In case of resignation, resignation letter is to be enclosed additionally. In case of election, what is the result of election, or is there a resolution for the accepting that these are the people who are elected in the annual general meeting, that copy has to be given, and affidavit. For each and every process, a evidence affidavit has to be given in charity commissioner office. Likewise, in case of registration, you have to give a affidavit, not on stamp paper, with 10 rupees court fee stamp affix, duly notarized or signed by, verified by bench clerk. Here also, with after submission of all the documents, at the time of submission of the documents or change report only, you have to submit evidence affidavit, or at the 2nd or 3rd date, you have to submit evidence affidavit. In addition, they have started calling for purses. What is purses? I was also not aware 4-5 years back. Now they have started asking for purses. Purses means we have submitted everything and we don't want to say anything further. We don't want to lead any further evidence. From our side, everything is over. We don't want to submit any further document. That's all. And now they have added to it some that no other change report in respect of this same matter is pending before this office. This is purses. They have that standard format that has to be given, plain paper, 10 rupees court fee stamp to be affixed, and 2-3 hearings are there. Again, as a chartered accountant, you are going there, letter of authority, power of attorney, sometimes not notarized, sometimes notarized, registered. Okay? Most of the times, it is better you carry trustee with you. The reporting trustee, if you carry, they don't ask questions. Whether you have power of attorney, whether you do not have power, they don't ask. If you carry trustee, but now the problem is, it doesn't happen in 2-3 hearing. It takes number of hearing. So, the trustee will not come every time. So, you need to have either letter of authority or power of attorney in your hand. Now, additionally, as a part of documentation, they have added to that list Schedule 1 copy. That means the trustee, he has expired. But whether he was trustee, that has to be found out. How one will find out? If his name was there in the trust deed, that will be evident from the trust deed. Okay? If his name was added subsequently, there must be change report earlier to that. So, copy of that last change report is to be given. So, copy of last change report is normally required to be given, or copy of latest Schedule 1 is to be given. Okay? Schedule 1 is like a X-ray of a person, or Schedule 1 is like a complete exhaustive record of the organization or the trust. Okay, then copy of the trust deed, copy of registration letter, copy registration certificate. These are additional requirement you have to enclose. Now supposing you don't submit change report within 90 days, the time limit is 90 days. If you are not submitted it, then the application for condonation of delay is to be submitted. You can submit change report after 30 days, after say 120 days, to 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. They levy cost. They generally condone the delay, but along with application for condonation of delay, they ask for delay condonation affidavit also, affidavit in support. Again, that affidavit in support is again not required to be in stamp paper. 10 rupees court fee stamp is required to be affixed. Now normally the process, one has to see what is the process which is codified or mentioned in the, what is the election process, what is the appointment process that has been mentioned in the trust deed. Trust deed generally mentions that existing, that is continuing or surviving trustees will appoint subsequent trustees. That is a normal provision. Sometimes it could be that managing trustee has got power to appoint trustees. What is your power as per trust deed? Who is going to elect subsequent authority, whether it is AGM or whether it is a body of trustee? You have to follow your rule for the purpose of appointment and accordingly submit the documents. Now they have said that this good change, sea change, this amendment is made just now, 18/7, few days back, 18/7/2024. The inquiry has to be completed within a span of 1 year from the date of submission. I know that change reports are pending for years together in Mumbai office. So this is a good change. It would be interesting to see what happens on 17 July 25. By that time, hundreds of applications, hundreds of change reports which are pending for years together will come for disposal, and then they will have to dispose of those pending applications. Good change. Because if you see, if someone comes to you and says, sir, we want to carry out these changes and all that, you ask them, what has happened, what was the last change report filed? They say, okay, we have filed a change report, but then what is the order? Then you are not aware what is the order. So you go there, the order is not there. Sometimes that record is not available. Now, by hook or crook, because of this rule, whatever are the pending undecided applications are there, they will all have to be decided either positively or negatively. Now beyond this, actually, give me 1 or 2 minutes. Actually, in case of change report, the process is, once you submit change report, they give you a date. On that date, you have to appear, and they tell you that is trustee, reporting trustee has to appear, and then they say that these are the documents which are incomplete. On the very date or next date, you have to submit those documents, then your process is complete. If you just submit a change report, if it is not complete, supposing all other documents you have completed, but you have not completed evidence affidavit, okay, there was a small delay of 10 days, your thing will be on hold. So if something is incomplete in that, you have to go there. They have already given you a date. If you have missed that particular date, you can go in 15 days time, 20 days time, find out what is the new date. So on the subsequent date, you can get it compliance done, and you can get the order. And important thing is, order do not get in email. You have to make an application there. Once you know that the order is passed, you have to make an application for certified copies. That is a very interesting department. तुम्हाला माहिती आहे तो गुप्त खजिना असतो, गुप्त खजिना, treasure trove. They act pricey like that. Supposing you have asked for some diamonds or something like that, they act like that. You have asked for some hidden treasure trove and all that. They act like that. So it is very difficult to get a certified copy from the office of chartered accountant, office of a charity commissioner office. You should try once. It is an experience in itself. Okay, you have to stand there whole day. First of all, you make an application. Say you are aware now कि your order is passed by a assistant charity commissioner, approved. Change report or approved. Mostly they don't reject. They take whatever documents are there. If something is problematic, they keep it pending. But generally, though, they don't reject. Once it is accepted, order is passed, you are aware, you ask bench clerk, order dalika, okay, he said order is done. So you make an application of certified copy. Now interesting part is, there earlier for getting certified copies, there was only one single form. Now there are 5 different forms for 5 types of certified copies. For schedule 1, getting schedule 1 form. For getting copy of change report, 1 form. For getting scheme, 1 form. For getting audit reports, 1 form. So different forms they have devised. So particular form you have to submit there. Now once you submit the form affixing a court fee stamp of 5 rupees, then they will give you a date, which depends on the mood of the officer and the pendency of the cases there. It could be from 15 days to 1.5 months. It can be 10 days on your request. It can be 45 days also. It depends on their mood and whatever. Okay, one cannot say. Now the day you go to collect certified copy, they call you at 10:30. This is a procedure and at Mumbai office. I am not aware at Thana and all that. There you go there, they say, okay, they take your application. And by now they have streamlined it to some extent, but sometimes you get copy by hanging whole day, or sometimes you do not get copy. That is the fact. That is the fact. Out of 100 cases or out of 60 cases, 40 cases dispose of, given copies, 20 cases they call you again. That is how it happens. If you are lucky, lottery लागल्यासारखा है. By evening you have spent whole day. By evening you should feel yourself lucky. You have won a lottery. Okay, it is as your joy can be described in no other words. Okay, now there is a deregistration. The provision of deregistration of the trust has been included in the law recently, and earlier there were quite a defunct societies under 1860 Act, not holding any meetings, not submitting account for several years. About 1,20,000 societies registration were cancelled in year 18 or 19 by the Charity Commissioner. By they publish advertisement in newspaper, that is Punya Nagari, nobody reads it. Then that newspaper, they publish that advertisement that so many trusts have not published, publishing names of those 1 lakh trusts district wise. Okay, that advertisement was published, and then they carried out the process of deregistration and cancelled registration of societies, 1860 Act, not trust, which were starting, registration number was starting with F, very old societies, and who have not done any compliance. But now they have brought a procedure for that. Under this only they have done it, deregistration. Okay, in case purpose is completely fulfilled, there is no money left, fulfillment of object is not possible, trustees, now important clause is this: when the trustees are found not doing any act fulfilling the objects of the trust. What is not doing any act fulfilling objects of the trust? Trustees have not submitted account for 5 years, or they have not submitted change report for 5 years. In that case, this provision can trigger, they can go for cancellation. They have done cancellation because there were 8 lakh trusts. Out of that 30% trust were not submitting any account, not submitting any change report that they were saying that time in 2018-19. Because of that, they adopted that stance. Now, if you go there for deregistration, they don't readily deal with your application. They sit on it. It is a totally time waster if you want to go for deregistration, or it is a time consuming process, but still the process in the law is there. But if you go for registration, what they check? What is money left? What is property in the trust? That property has been given to another trust with the similar object. What is money left? That is given to another trust. Minimal amount is there. Okay, minimal amount is there, that can be given to public trust administration fund. With that, trust can be closed. Okay, for that, giving paper notice, publication of paper notice, all this process has to be carried out. Secondly, They check all your compliances. All accounts up to date are filed or not. Who are the last trustees or who are the last committee members. Whether the change report with respect to last committee members, last trustees is there or not. Their names are in the records of the Office of Charity Commissioner. If everything is satisfactory, they can pass a order. They can pass a order, but it doesn't happen easily. It is process in the law. Now there is a process. This is suo motu deregistration. Supposing you have not passed file account for several years, not filed change report for several years, in that case it can trigger. And then if the process is started, if there is the assistant charity commissioner has power to take over the management of the trust also. Assistant charity commissioner has power to take over the properties of the trust also. Assistant charity commissioner has power to take over the properties and sell those properties after giving public notices. So you have to be careful. Now you know, as a chartered accountant, you know, or you must be knowing, submission of budget by public trust, very small limits are there, nobody is doing, people should do. There is a fine of 10,000 for not filing budget. Okay, who are required to do it? Every trust. Every trust means almost every trust. A trustee of a public trust which has an annual income exceeding rupees 5,000 in case of public religious and 10,000 in case of any other case. So 5,000, 10,000 are the limit for annual income. So every trust mostly has income above this limit. That means every trust has to file a budget. They have made it online also this time, but I have heard that process of online is not functioning that smoothly. So till last year it was offline only. Options are offline as well as online. There is a format of budget 7A. So in that format, that is probable receipts. When the budget has to be submitted, budget for next year, that means 25-26. Okay, so that budget has to be submitted 1 month before. 1 month before commencement of the year. Means budget for next starting for the year next April has to be submitted before 28th of February or 29th of February. 1 month before the commencement of the accounting year. Thereafter they don't accept only. Most of the cases financial year commences on 1st April. So your financial year is commencing on 1st April. You have to submit account by 28th of February. Submit budget by 28th of February. Last day. 28th or 29th it is if it is a leap year. Okay. So you have to give details of all receipts, disbursement, probable. That is budget. We have made suggestion to Charity Commissioner Office, you scrap this provision. We have made representation to ministry also, you scrap this provision. There is no purpose. Now let us say, as a trust, first of all my income is donation. So what donation I am going to, it is not a factory. I can project an increase of 10% with some effort. Okay. So I can get donation of 5 lakh, I can get a donation of 10. And again, they are not matching this with the actual performance. Again, supposing my actual performance does not match with budget, what harm does it make? Budget is budget, it is estimate. Opening balance is estimated, closing balance is estimated, opening cash is estimated, opening bank balance is estimated, closing bank balance is estimated, all receipts are estimated, all expenses are estimated, everything estimates. But the procedure and provisions are there. Sorry for my sarcasm, but we have made representation on this aspect, so it doesn't serve any purpose. Now I am coming to important provision. Okay. Maintenance of account. Earlier what I used to do, earlier I used to mention only section in my presentation. My presentation has become lengthy this time because I have included certain aspects of the audit also here. Okay, and I think I have got only 10 minutes. I will finish this part. Maintenance of account. Trust should maintain regular accounts. Good. Now they have allowed that they can be maintained in electronic form. Okay. Now maintenance of account, rule 17 says accounts on what aspect? You know. receipts, payments in respect of property, normal, no problem. Now it should be maintained in such format that it should facilitate preparation of balance sheet in Schedule 8, Schedule 9, statement of contribution in Form 9C, etc. That is what this rule says. Now if your income is less than 5,000, then up to 5,000, then in that case balance sheet, Schedule 8, Schedule 9, 9C is not required. In that case 9A and 9B simplified format, which is to be signed by trustee only. Okay, no auditor signature is required on 9A or 9B. Okay, so it should facilitate whatever accounts you are maintaining, it should facilitate the preparation of balance sheet or balance sheet Schedule 8, Schedule 9, 9C, 9A, 9B, etc. That is what it says. Further, section 33 is balancing and auditing of the accounts. It's simple. It says they should be balanced every year. Then account should be audited by a chartered accountant. He should not be a related person. That is what it says. And then rule 18 says certain powers of facilitating audit. Okay. Then this section 34 is important. You might not have read it. You might have read it. It includes a confusing thing. It says that the balance sheet is to be prepared by auditor. Law says so. Okay. So balance sheet is to be prepared by auditor. It has come in the act in 1950, not changed so far. It continues like that. You are aware that financial statements are to be prepared by management only, not by chartered accountant, but it has come like that. So it says the balance sheet is to be prepared by auditor, then it should be given to trustees, then it should be given to charity commissioner. And subsequently subsection 1A says that once chartered accountant gives balance sheet to auditor gives balance sheet to trustees, trustees should forward it to office of charity commissioner. That is how it says. These are the provisions. I have brought it to your notice. So the filing audit report is a joint responsibility of the trustees and the auditor. Okay. Another important part. People are negligent, or I should say soft word, not paying proper attention to while carrying out audit. And when we sometime go there as a representative of CA Institute, they say, "Arey, we come across cases, there is a mismanagement, but the chartered accountant has not put any comment on all that. He has not pointed out that there was a misappropriation and this illegality was going on." You have to be, if you have accepted the work as a chartered accountant of any religious or charitable organization, with money, without money, they are known people, you are not demanding any money, you are charging concessional rate of fees, or you are charging proper fees, come what may, you have to carry out as a chartered accountant, you have to carry out a proper job. Minutes book maintained, say maintained. Minute book not maintained, say not maintained. Cash not physically counted, mention not physically counted. Whatever is factual situation, if there is any major irregularity, you have to bring it to the notice of the charity commissioner in via your report. Now this I generally, as I said, I don't reproduce contents of the section and rules, but this is the section, this is the rule 19, which you answer queries in a questionnaire form. Say whether accounts are maintained regularly, whether trustees have appeared, whether they have offered all explanation, they have produced books and all that. This is the relevant rule. Say, now here one important aspect I will bring to your notice. Moving to item number I. This is there since 1971 or 72. This amendment has come in 1971 or 72, almost 53 or 54 years back. Whether the tenders were invited, you are aware if you have carried out audit of charitable institution, whether tenders were invited for repairs or construction involving expenditure exceeding rupees 5,000. 5,000, this figure has not changed for last 53 years. As an auditor, you have expressed surprise, correct? But as an auditor, what you are supposed to do? You mention there. If there is a expenditure of 1 lakh on repair or construction, mention there. No tenders were invited. What harm does it make? Minute book is not maintained, mention it there. you advise trustees, it is necessary to maintain minute book. If you are holding meeting, then needs to be record. कल लगा तो क्या करोगे? Some trustee expires, some trustee dies, there is a resignation in the trustee. Okay, how you will get signature of that trustee for if you have to complete minutes book for last 4 years or 5 years for some purpose? Okay, and you as a auditor are, then you will have to, they have to follow that philosophy. वो था फिर घूम गया. Okay, but when you have to, see, these are certain things as a auditor you advise party कि these are required to be maintained. Good. Interesting part, whether the maximum or minimum number of trustees is maintained. For this purpose, what you have to do? You have to first read a trust deed running into 6-7 pages. You have to find out that appropriate clause, what is the minimum and maximum number of trustees, and you have to get a list from the trust that what are the present lists, what is the last change report, is there any change report since the beginning, or is there change in the beginning, what is the present list. Now there is one 9D. You have to fill up 9D. Surprisingly, that 9D, you are aware now, 9D. Okay, that includes names of the trustees, all the managing committee members names are required to be there. Okay, but then you have to verify. But surprisingly, it says, the rule says that has to be submitted by the chartered accountant, auditor, along with the accounts. Okay, but it does not, at the bottom it does not mention signature of auditor is required. Don't sign. Please don't put your signature. I have checked with the Office of Charity Commissioner. It even doesn't say that signature of the trustees or managing committee members are required. That even it doesn't say. But better take signature of 3 managing committee member or 3 trustees. Surprisingly, that 9D is there, and the top there is no name of the trust also. You go and read it again. Go home, go to office and read it again. There is no name of the trust. There is no financial year for which to it relates. Okay, there is at the bottom no mention as to who is to sign that, no mention. But you have to find out and mention who are the trustees and whether they are within the limits of permissible minimum and maximum number. Okay. Now here I have given a procedure in a summary format. If you are carrying out that audit of the trust, you are aware within 6 months from the end of the year it has to be completed. If the income is more than 5,000 rupees, then in Schedule 8, Schedule 9, 9C and now 9D is also required to be submitted. Then the accounts are required to be submitted before 30th of September or latest by, as per law, latest by, it permits you another fortnight. So by 14th of October, account to be submitted without delay condonation. But beyond that, if you go and submit that, then Vilamba Maafi charge, the delay condonation application duly notarized with court fee stamp of 10 rupees affix has to be submitted. And once you submit account, upload account online, then within 30 days the acknowledgement after getting signature of the trustees. Now who should sign the verification form? They insist that balance sheet पे जो signature है वही लोग sign करना चाहिए. There is no such rule, but they say, okay, you have to follow. Okay, and in case of society 1860 Act, if it is a society, registration number start with F, minimum 3 parties signature, managing committee member signature should be there. In trust, they accept single signature also because they are aware. In trust, there could be 1 trustee, there could be 2 trustees. It is possible. But in case of societies, minimum 3 signatures should be there. Yes, auditor has to. Yes, trust, not for verification form. You are basically, when you are carrying out audit, you have to. When you are carrying out audit, statutory attest function, UDIN to be generated. No. User ID password, one good change has come, that is the user ID and password, since last year they are insisting on user ID and password, and the problematic part is either it is good or bad the way you look at it. The trust has not filed change report for several years. The current managing committee is not on record. The change report respect to that is not made. They insist that change report is required to be filed. It is good in a way. If the compliance is pending, that compliance has to be committed, then only they allowed you user ID password after you make an online application in a prescribed format. Okay. And earlier they used to take 1.5 months for allotting user ID. Now I have learned that they give it in very few days only. And cancellations also they were used to take months together. Cancellation, if there is a mistake. The problematic part in accounts is that the structure, whole structure is problematic. We have made representation on that. First, what goes is audit report. Okay. Along with audit report, you have to submit all enclosures. उसमें कुछ mistake हो गया, खलास, problem. You can't change it, you can't edit it, you have to simply go with the process and then you have to make an application for cancellation. We have approached them several times, said, sir, this is wrong. Income tax does not happen, GST does not happen, till I submit, even FCRA it does not happen. Till I submit final button, it does not happen. It allows me to make any changes whatsoever in the document that I have to upload. Either I have to attach or I have to remove or any correction in the figures. अरे ₹1 का भी mistake हो गया, ₹2 का भी mistake हो गया, then you had it. Now, I don't have any opportunity to edit. Once what panel is freeze, audit report is uploaded, the documents are uploaded. By mistake, if any attachment you have not uploaded along with it, gone. Case is gone. And it is gone for cancellation. You have to make application for cancellation of that audit report. They according to the availability of their time, the person will do it, and thereafter you can. We have made representation. I have personally represented this matter to Charity Commissioner along with a few of our CAs and through the on the banner of our CA Institute. And the officer is quite good. The Charity Commissioner is very good. He was very cooperative and he said okay, but he said तो म्हणाला काय करणार आमचं where funds are involved, our hands are tied up. ते अजित दादांच्या टेबलावर जाऊन थांबलं की मग आम्ही काय करू शकत नाही. That is what he said. Last April we made submission. Thereafter I could not follow up because of some of my personal problems. But he said my doors are open. You come anytime. Whatever changes you want, whatever representations you make. Very good person, nice person. Okay. So we made representations on this point. But then this thing has improved. That granting user ID and password, they have made a sea change. They are giving swiftly. And cancellations are also they are doing very fast. That is there.
User ID password sir effectively नहीं है available. People try it number of times but it never comes.
नहीं. If you go there, you receive. Go there. If you have any difficulty, go there. Send any of your assistant there. They listen to you. They rectify the matter. They see what the mail you have sent and they do it. Normally do it now. This is the last section I will cover in 1 minute. Okay. This is investment of the public trust money. Okay. It has to be in scheduled bank, and scheduled bank or the post offices or the government securities. But remember, scheduled banks means you have choice of about 300 banks, not less than that. It includes State Bank, it includes all nationalized bank. You pull out a schedule of Schedule 2 of the RBI Act 1934. It includes so many banks. Okay. Then here it is not there, but it is there in section 11.5, mutual funds. Some of the mutual funds may have been approved by Charity Commissioner Office. Some of the mutual fund houses may not have been approved by Charity Commissioner Office. But at the most what would happen is Charity Commissioner Office would levy a penalty of 10,000 rupees. That is what is possible. But as far as income tax is concerned, you compare these two sections. Some items are comparable, matching. Some items are not matching. You follow section 11.5 of the Income Tax Act religiously. Not following section 11.5, the investment pattern would be dangerous for the trust. Okay, finished. Then one more important provision I would like to bring to your notice: alienation of immovable property. If there is any sale, exchange, gift of any immovable property pertaining to trust, permission of the Charity Commissioner is required. Without that, it cannot be sold. Now there are fixed good change 180 days time for it. Just recent amendment. Recent means not this budget. 18 July 24. I'll just bring to your notice important points now. For any borrowing, again, the word is any borrowing from the trustees, provision can apply. But at least where there is a borrowing from financial institution, one has to apply to the charity commissioner, make permission and then only borrow. Register of movable and you are aware, as an auditor you are aware that register of movable and immovable properties has to be maintained. Format is mentioned with respect to gold, jewelry, movable property, immovable property, various sections are there. You don't have to submit there, charity commissioner office. The trust has to maintain it. It has to be brought up to date at the end of every year. It is auditor duty. These are the various parts of the movable immovable property register. Section part 1 pertains to immovable, various columns. Part 2 consists of movable property, gold, ornaments, valuable, etc. Then 3 is share debentures. Then there is other valuable, other movables.